This is Kherson, Ukraine, on November 23rd, 2022. Almost exactly 9 months into the most recent Russian invasion that started in late February. I am at the main administration building. Beautiful blue and yellow of Ukraine flies overhead. And as well over the main plaza here, people are getting aid of various kinds. There's an aid tent, a couple of aid tents on the far side, but this one most closest to me is just relates to charging batteries and cell phone service and being able to make some phone calls. Down beyond that, there are some porta bathrooms, and there's various places where people can get food and water, and also smaller markets are open. I saw some, at least sidewalk kind of markets open down by the train station, so people are getting through it. I know that President Zelensky has, when early on in the war, he presented himself, I think by video conference, to the British Parliament. And his eloquence and his brilliant wordsmithing has he's proved up to the task. And on that occasion, he quoted from the great British bulldog, the great lion of Britain himself, Churchill. And it was an inspiring moment. Britain, as much of Western Europe and the U.S., has rallied to Ukraine's cause. So I think at this state, 9 months later, a little suggesting a few more of the beautiful words of Mr. Churchill seemed to me especially appropriate as things drag on. And the amazing thing to me as I consider these words of Churchill is that most of the quote that I'll be reading is from when he just took the prime minister position in 1940, and yet he somehow knew that what they were dealing with at the time was the most monstrous, as he called it, tyranny in human history. That was an extraordinary bit of prophecy, because the worst of the Nazi crimes weren't committed and weren't uncovered until 3, 4, and 5 years later. So it's extraordinary that Churchill was so prophetic and so much the man of the hour. So I would like to present just a little part of a piece that speech that he gave to the British people just as he was becoming Prime Minister. And then another little tidbit from the very end of the war. At the very beginning, in 1940, he said, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? I will say it is to wage war by sea, land, and air, with all of our might and with all of the strength that God can give us. To wage war against a monstrous tyranny, never surpassed in the dark and lamentable catalog of human crime. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word: victory. Victory at all cost. Victory in spite of all terror. victory, however long and hard the road may be. Those were Churchill's words in 1940, the very beginning of his time as the Prime Minister, though the war had been going on for Britain almost a year by that point. At the very end in 1945, just before he left office, he said, "This is your victory, victory of the cause of freedom in every land." So I think that the Ukrainians can stand proud. We don't know where they are in terms of the length of this conflict and how long they may have to endure. But they've already endured 9 months. And these people in Kherson endured 9 months under occupation, suffering abuses in every form of privation. And winter's coming on again, and they lack power, they lack water, basic human necessities, but they endure, and it's their will to endure and prevail that has brought Ukraine to the point of prevailing, enduring and prevailing, and their ultimate aim is in sight. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is total victory. And their freedom they have fought for freedom, and they will have freedom to not only not be under occupation and subjugation by a tyranny, but to determine the fate of their own nation, to run their own country, their own city, as they decide, and to live as free people. November 23rd, 2022. Kherson, Ukraine. Slav Ukraine.